folks. Good luck, both of you. Folks!
By the way, this is the guy that Danny Jacobs is rumored to be fighting. I've covered him before. I've watched a good portion of his fights. You know, probably maybe even all of them that are on the internet. His name is Gary Spikel Sullivan, Irish fighter out of the UK. Very eccentric character indeed. You know, we're going to talk about it.
Winner by knockout victory, Spikel Sullivan.
Very eccentric fighter. He fought Billy Joe Saunders. Of course, he was defeated. He fought Chris Eubank Jr. He disappointed me in that fight. Of course, he was defeated. And his last fight was on HBO, and I was wondering, I was like, how is this guy getting HBO time against Antoine Douglas? Yes, it was a good fight that was worth, you know, to be a fight that was an opening fight of 3 fights. But I was thinking, like, well, wait a minute. Now, if you don't know, Danny Jacobs is signed with Matchroom USA, Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn has been somewhat entertaining the idea of Danny Jacobs versus Gary Spikel Sullivan in April. Now, we all want Danny Jacobs to fight Billy Joe Saunders, but I talked about it in a very long video. It's not happening. You know, it's just not happening because of promotional reasons, unfortunately. Danny Jacobs is supposed to return in April the 28th, if I'm correct, in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. When you're not a champion, you just don't make dates and just expect for another fighter to abide by that date. Not everybody has that power. Danny Jacobs, unfortunately, doesn't. So it's safe to say that when he returns to Brooklyn, April the 28th is going to be an opponent of his choosing, even though him versus Billy Joe Saunders makes the most sense. TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. However, Danny Jacobs versus Gary Spikel Sullivan will be a more entertaining fight than Luis Arias, but it is a step back nonetheless. No disrespect to Gary Spikel Sullivan. 33-2 with 29 KOs. He's fought Luis Arias in his last fight in this big fight right here against Gennady Golovkin. The saying goes, you know, you can win the battle but lose the war. In this case of Danny Jacobs, he gained so much in defeat from this Gennady Golovkin fight that his stock has rose exponentially. So now, him fighting Luis Arias and Gary Spikel Sullivan, the number one question people are going to ask is, oh, well, you know, why is he not fighting Billy Joe Saunders? And he's going back to his old ways. Now, even though Caleb Truax here beat James DeGill at 168, Billy Joe Saunders fought Gerald Fletcher when Gerald Fletcher was undefeated. He fought Peter Quillen, which was the biggest fight of his career at that time, Sergio Mora, twice because of the injury, and Danny Jacobs got put down by Sergio Mora to get this big fight, you know, and to go to Luis Arias. And then, you know, I can understand the Luis Arias fight. He had just signed with Matchroom. You know, it was a fight for him. You know, like, listen, I'm with Matchroom. I'm announcing myself. You know, but many of us wanted him to fight Billy Joe Saunders, but it's just that political between the fact that, you know, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn works with Sky Sports. Billy Joe Saunders, Frank Warren, Box Nation. It's like HBO fighters fighting them. It's like a Showtime signed fighter. There's a contract fighting an HBO signed fighter. You know, it's just a shame. You know, and it's a fight that makes the most sense. And even Danny Jacobs said he wants Billy Joe Saunders. And now people are questioning him. Well, wait a minute. Why would you sign, you know, with Eddie Hearn, you know? But I guess maybe they didn't, you know, forecast or think ahead when it came to the Billy Joe Saunders situation, or didn't think that Billy Joe Saunders would be such a high commodity right now in the big fight. But now, because of political reasons, it can't happen, you know? Here's Gary Spikel Sullivan, by the way. Very charismatic dude. This is just a Google search right here. This mankini he wore right here, he even got a video. I'll probably play it in one of the I'm going to do a lot of videos on this subject until the fight is announced, unless they fight somebody else. But he threw this thing right here, and legend has it that it's sullied, like is dirty. He threw it at Anthony Ogogo, and it hit him and slid right down his face in his last fight. But he was having some eye issues. I don't know if he's coming back or not. So as you can see, very charismatic dude, very good on the microphone, and he can sell a fight for the most part. But people are going to be thinking like, well, once again, here's him right here. He threw this thing at him. He threw it. He wore it and he threw it at him. That's crazy. That's a fight where I come from, off the streets. I mean on the streets, out the ring. You're not throwing nothing. I don't care if I'm something wrong with my eye or not. We're gonna fight. But looking at his resume, let's go back full screen again. 27-2 with 19 KOs. Antoine Douglas, biggest win of his career. This was a big win too against Nick Quigley. And then, pretty much these build-up fights here from the Chris Eubank Jr. Defeat he took that was heavily built up, but he just didn't show up that night. Then he lost to Billy Joe Saunders. So for the most part, he's had a pretty solid career with only 2 defeats. Pretty solid career. But anyway, the other name that's floating around out there is Martin Murray, but it seems as though maybe Spike O'Sullivan is going to get the call and not Martin Murray. Whatever the case may be, fans are going to be pissed off at Danny Jacobs because they're going to be like, who? Because over here, Spike O'Sullivan, even though he was televised on HBO, nobody really knows who Spike O'Sullivan is over here. So they're going to be like, who? And then they're going to build this. They're going to build this as a Danny Jacobs coming home to fight in Brooklyn fight. I get it. And that's all cool and everything. But the question remains now is if he does beat Spike O'Sullivan, where does he go then? It's like, okay, well, if it's not going to be Billy Joe Saunders, who are you going to fight to remain relevant and keep fans pleased if you don't fight, like Billy Joe and you can't get, Canelo or Golovkin, or if whoever wins, you still can't get him. What's the plan? And it's crazy because Billy Joe Saunders and Daniel Jacobs, if Daniel Jacobs was to go to the UK, that would be a hot matchup, right? And it's crazy because if he was with Al Heyman, he would be able to work with Frank Warren, right? If he was with Al Heyman, he wouldn't be signed with a promoter, right? Now, I'm saying this. I do feel in some cases, and in a good amount of cases, as we've seen, is that it's good to have a promoter along with Al Heyman. And it's good to have a promoter and not just Al Heyman. But in certain situations like this, when you sign with a promoter and there's just political stuff going on, it makes people look at you like, okay, well, now, why can't you fight Billy Joe Saunders? Explain to me. Well, because Matchroom and Frank Warren, and they don't work together because it is. And then they would have to do a cross-promotional network deal because, from my understanding, if all Matchroom fighters, Sky Sports fighters, Matchroom fighters fight on Sky Sports, Daniel Jacobs is a Sky Sports fighter, right? But is there a possibility that he may have this deal with Eddie Hearn where Matchroom USA fighters can fight whoever they want, just not over there? I don't understand how it will work, but either way, Billy Joe Saunders is Box Nation, BT Sports, Frank Warren. He is with them. So Danny Jacobs would have to fight on that on that platform, on BT Sport, Box Nation. For the people of the United States that don't understand, it's like an HBO fighter going over to Showtime to fight. Or, for example, it's like you seeing somebody that's a known Showtime fighter like Adrian Broner going over, to HBO, to fight somebody like a Golden Boy fighter, like a Matisse or something, knowing that that's the political, that's the type of situation that it is. And with him just being newly signed to Matchroom, and I guess you can say Sky Sport, would they do that cross promotion this soon? It's just a weird, complex situation. In my personal opinion, I just think to myself, like, damn, man, it would have been, nice, to see Billy Joe Saunders versus Daniel Jacobs, especially in this political landscape, because It could have been a big fight, especially what if Billy Joe Saunders said, all right, well, I already traveled to Canada. I'll come to New York. Because it's not like it's a far away off the market type place. Billy Joe Saunders can benefit from coming to New York, especially with his style and selling the fight. He can make new fans. But anyway, I don't want to be rambling. I feel like I'm rambling. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. If anything else comes out of this, we'll look into it. But in the meantime, pay attention to Spike O'Sullivan's Twitter and social media and Danny Jacobs. But more so Spike O'Sullivan. He'll likely be the one to spill the beans. Please subscribe. All the links to my social media have been popping up throughout the video at FightView360. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live.